Well, welcome back to the Added Time podcast with me, Alan Myers, and Tony Grant, the former Everton, Manchester City and Burnley midfielder. And I'm glad to say this week, Tony, we've got a special guest with us. And it's Keith Mullin from The Farm. Hi, Keith, how are you?
I'm all right, Alan. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah. Listen, Keith, I'm going to put you under pressure straight away because obviously, you know, we had Peter Hooton in just a few weeks ago and the episode went down really well with Peter. He was great. So, yeah, he was great. Yeah. So no pressure, but we need you to perform today, you know. And but listen, what we're going to do, we're going to talk football, and obviously we'll talk music, you know, because obviously both of those things feature a lot in your life.
Two passions.
Sure. Yeah. But I want to start really going back to your start with The Farm, because you came in about, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years after the band had formed. Is that right?
No, that's correct. Yeah, they were looking for a guitarist because their guitarist at the time had left. You know, and I remember I was recommended to Peter and the band by a couple of friends of mine. We have mutual associates who are two Evertonians, to be funny enough, Billy and Andy, Billy and Peter Dunn. Who were from North End Liverpool and were regular going to football matches, and they knew Peter through the end and various things that he'd done, and they were looking for a guitarist, and they happened to mention to him that there's a lad round ours plays guitar and he looks the part, you know, I think, and that was the basis of me getting what you would call a pseudo audition, which they just came round to my house and go on and play. So I kind of played some stuff for them, you know. I can't even remember what I played, but I think I played some fancy chords which they weren't too impressed by, but then I played some kind of riffs and some kind of, you know, songs that they'd known, and that was kind of it. But yeah, so it's a recommendation from two Evertonians to Peter, because you knew each other, and you knew each other, you know. So,
well, speaking to Peter last week, I'm surprised he was even taking recommendations from Evertonians, to be honest. But listen, I mean,
I believe he wasn't too complimentary.
No, he was all right, to be fair. He you know, I still think it's bitter with him giving All Together Now to Everton as a cup final song. But he did say he did that on your behalf, really, because you were so good.
But I mean, at the time, it was the right thing to do, you know, and even he will say it was the right thing to do. Yeah. You know, and at the time, which was 1995, we were living in a very different world. The rivalries that exist now, and the way that they exist because of social media, when it just wasn't like with the way it is now. And obviously, because I'm in a band full of Reds, or Liverpool fans, you know, and I know, and they'd done a lot for the Liverpool Football Club. I'd obviously, I'm the guitarist in the band, so I'd done all that stuff with them, you know, and because we were obviously, I was putting pressure on, and the kids were putting pressure on, and stuff, and I mean, because ultimately you've got to get the agreement of the lyricist, the songwriter, if you want to change the lyrics,
course,
and that was the big thing. They could have just covered it, and no one would have batted an eyelid, but they had to get the agreement of Peter to change the lyrics, and he agreed, and it was his dad that really convinced him. And I'm sure he told that story. It was that really convinced him. You know, beyond what everyone else is saying, he was a bit, you know, because it was being used a lot at that time for football. It
was a massive hit, wasn't it, in the very early 90s?
Yeah, and there was a kind of tendency that, do we want the song to be continuously associated with football? And I get that, you know, but his dad basically said to him, who's a lifelong Liverpudlian, basically said to him, you know, you'd be a hypocrite if you don't, you know, considering what the song's about. It's about unifying two sides, you know. You got more in common than those people on the other side of the trenches, you know.
But I think we've seen that with the song, though, haven't we? Because, you know, it does fit all kinds of situations, doesn't it? You know, it's not just about football, really.
It's about unity.
It is a message of unity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a message of unity. You could argue, say it's an anti-war song. And it's one of the main lines. It's the spirit stronger than war. Yeah. It's about humanity, really, and about people being realising that you've got more in common with someone who you may be fighting with and arguing with than the people who are kind of causing those arguments. It's completely relevant to, you know, the type of stuff that goes on social media now, which is like a phony war. You know?
And if you go back to the time of 95, the actual team represented the song so well, didn't they? Which was like, you know, some teams,
of course,
you know what I mean? It's like
Dogs of War.
It was the Dogs of War. We were fighting relegation that year.
Yeah,
you know?
I sung it. I couldn't sing it now, like. My voice is a mess.
Are you going to ask him? Was you going to ask him to sing it today, was you?
Not today, no.
I wouldn't be able to remember the words. No, I would.
Oh, I'm sure you would. But tell you're right. And, but I just want to go, I'm going to talk about society and the way music was shaped by society in those days, certainly in Liverpool of the 80s, which I'm sure you'll have lots to say, on that. But just going back to what you were saying, you're painting that picture, To, of the band and you sort of audition, if you like, but not an audition. And I remember hearing a great story, and how true it is, I don't know, about Queen when they auditioned Freddie Mercury, and he was sort of knocked back at first. They didn't like the way he sang, I think it might have even been in Moscow Drive off Green Lane. They had a flat there or something, and certainly up by Penny Lane they lived as well.
Well, Freddie lived there for a while, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. And it's fascinating. It's great to hear about how these bands start and like they are. I mean, even go back to the Beatles, and the start is. I think when we see these bands in their form now, you can think that it was all planned and but it was all very much sort of off the cuff, wasn't it, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what you call them happy accidents that happen in life, the consequence of like what you call convergence, certain things occur and you make certain choices and decisions and go one particular way and God knows sometimes what road it is you're going down and being in the farm, I suppose, and that time for me was really, I mean, we were living in the 80s, I admit, and we were living in through, worst waves, if you like, well, there was mass unemployment in Liverpool, so we were all kind of forged under that umbrella of Thatcher and that type of social environment that you kind of you become part of that and you kind of you kind of all forged like that. So we kind of had a lot in common, even though we had the football thing that was really different. There was a rivalry. The rivals were different, but we had a lot in common with music, with politics, with football and that. So. Yeah, it's kind of like sometimes, you don't know where you're going to end up in life depending upon the decisions. And I became, I'd like to think an integral part of the band,
Very much so. I go back to David Soul and Paper Lace and, the 70s, it was a very different era,
A hell of a haircut.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually went to see him in Southport with my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. And we went to see him and people were walking out halfway through. He just sat on the front of the stage talking. And then he sung a song called Black Bean Soup, which, and it was just bizarre, he'd sung like The Silver Lady and the other thing, but everyone was at Southport Theatre, was just walking out. But anyway, I digress.
My first ever gig was in Southport.
Really?
When I was 5 years of age.
Oh, really?
Yeah, seriously. My uncle was a huge jazz fan.
Go away.
And he took me to see Duke Ellington and his orchestra when I was 5.
So was your family always a musical family?
Big music fans and big music fans and really into. My dad and his uncle, they were very much, they were. My uncle Arthur, he was very much, he's a merchant seaman, so he kind of brought a lot of music from America, and he's very much into blues, jazz, and skiffle.
A lot of music came back, didn't it, from the States? You're right.
He was a Cunard Yank, he was one of them, And so he took me to. They had a spare ticket for Duke Ellington.
Can you remember that?
I can remember it, yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. It's weird. Fantastic. I don't know how I can. Yeah. I can't really remember anything else when I was 5.
And did that get you into jazz going forward? Or
it definitely didn't get me into jazz, no. But I mean, it kind of made me aware of that I had a passion with music because apparently I bobbed all the way through it and nodded all the way through it, and I was really well behaved, I think it was the best they'd ever seen me behave, was being mesmerised by this orchestra. I'd never seen anything like it in my life,
Brilliant. Yeah.
So,
But I was going to say, Toto, like my formative years was the 70s, and music forms you, doesn't it, in many ways. What was the 80s and 90s like for you when you heard these guys? Was that your time?
Well, Joe, really, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of bands, obviously, from Liverpool. There was a huge amount of bands. Keith will tell you way more than me, but The Farm are well known now as probably one of the best bands to come out of Liverpool, really, because you're still going now, aren't you? You're still gigging now, and we've had loads of brilliant bands. The Lars came out just after you, I think, didn't he? And
well, I mean, us and the Lars, we were probably about the same time, but I think we kind of edged it a little bit at that time in terms of where we were going with our if you want to use like, you know, record sales and chart success as a measurement stick, which I wouldn't really do that, but at the time we were quite popular, and they were as well. But, you know, but they're an amazing band. You know,
great band, and Liverpool, as you said before, going back all the years, Liverpool's been a brilliant city for music and football.
Was
but
a great time,
I think the Farm, for me, you know, the test of time, they're still here.
Right up there, yeah.
You played in Glastonbury not long ago, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, they're still rocking with the kids.
Yeah.
So, no, I think the Farm have got, and in Everton's history,
yeah,
they're stamped in Everton's history now, aren't they? They are, aren't they? Whether some like it or some don't, but they are.
Yeah.
Well, we'd obviously, the 90s passed me by because we had a young baby, and, you know, we were just, my life was just working and looking after me, you know, my daughter with my wife. So we didn't I didn't get into music as much in the 90s. But how much, certainly in the late 80s, how much did football influence you, or did it influence you in any way with regards from a musical point of view?
Well, I mean, I probably wasn't influenced musically by football, but it was kind of, music was certainly part of that mosaic, if you like, that picture, because, you know, if you were going to football, then you were into music and you were into politics and you were into the football. It was like the three things that were very, very prominent in Liverpool. You know, you had school strikes in the 80s in Liverpool where the kids were all on strike. You know, we had a city and a city council that was fighting the government. You had, as I said before, mass unemployment. There was a lot of social deprivation, and so you can't help but be forged by that. You know, my dad was blacklisted. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He was blacklisted because of his the things that he was involved with from a union point of view. You know, he was involved in the building workers' strikes in the 70s with Desi Warren and Ricky Tomlinson and all those people. So you can't help other than be kind of forged by that in some way or influenced by that because it impacts upon your life. So music was a major part of that because my family were into music, but my family were very much into, you know, either kind of soul music, jazz, or protest music in some kind of form. So yeah, it had a massive impact on me. It was probably why I picked up an instrument, you know.
Yeah, but also, I think, you know, that sort of music at that time, I remember the Christians, you know, and they had a real message, didn't they?
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. You know? I remember I was, would you believe, driving a hackney cab at that point. Yeah. So, you know, I saw the deprivation, I saw the hard times as much as anybody, you know, at that time. You know, we'd go whole nights and come home with sort of £8 or something, you know, because people were just not, do you know what I mean? And I think, you know, what was born out of that time with the music was real heartfelt messages, wasn't it? And is that what you found?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things, the thing about, you know, if you listen to a lot of songs from that era, from a lot of the bands that are from this city, or from any other inner city, you know, they're normally singing about some kind of making some form of social commentary. You know, that's kind of what's going on with the music, and it's still occurring today, but in a very, very different way with the bands, because, you know, the young kids now, their lives are very different to what ours was, and they're singing about what's relevant to them, and that's important, you know. And I suppose that's the job of a song, isn't it? Really, the job of a song, if you like, is a story in a way. It's telling you a very, very short story in a very, very short space of time. And you can tell anything about society from a song, or everything about society from when it was made, from a song, from any part in history and time. Even if it's a case of just looking at who made the record, where it was produced, how it was recorded, what the lyrics about, who the artists are, you know, and what their beliefs and values are. It all comes through in a song in some way. So songs are really important to us and important to our lives. And as an artist myself, you know, being in a band like The Farm, where, you know, Peter's the lyricist, he writes amazing lyrics. You know, Peter makes social commentary. That's what he does, and you're part of that meaning in that way, and I think that's important. You know.
Yeah. When you were on the terraces, though, were you a singer then?
I was more of a shouter, when I was on the terraces. I can't sing now because my throat.
You had some issue with your throat, didn't you?
Yeah, I've had throat cancer twice. Wow. So I had.
How are you now?
I'm fine.
Good.
I'm fine, but it meant they removed my one of my vocal cords, and my false cord, and he did it with lasers. That's kind of what they do now. Right. And it meant that all got removed, so I couldn't really speak for a year. So I had to build the scar tissue builds up, and your other vocal cord bangs on the scar tissue, which is why I can speak now. You know, really, that's how it works. You know, and so I got it once, and then it came back, and I had to go back in for another operation on lockdown day in 2020, funnily enough, on the 23rd of March, I remember it like it was yesterday, because when I went into the hospital, it was like 23 days after. There was no one there. It was like really weird. And
it's also not the place you want to be at that point either, is it, really? You know, for two reasons, not just one, you know.
No, so it was quite desolate, and then I had to do all the radiotherapy and all that after, which tightens up all your throat and your vocal muscles and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm all right now, touch wood.
Great.
You know, and you know, I think this is a small price to pay, really, in terms of, you know, it's better than being dead, isn't it?
It is, always. It's always the better option, to be fair.
You know what I mean?
But, you know, when you went, let's talk about your football, because whilst Tony was listening to your music, you were watching his football, I guess,
Absolutely,
in the 90s as well. And, you know, what, you're a massive Everton fan, I know that. You know, in stark contrast to our last farm guest, you know, the farm guest. So, I mean, how did your footballing sort of allegiance happen?
It's a family thing, really. You know, my mum grew up by Goodison, just up the road there from Goodison. My dad's an Evertonian. His brother, funnily enough, was a Liverpool fan. But it was a family thing, and I got taken to see Everton. I think when I was talking to, I must have been about 8 or 9, I think, or 9 or 10 with my first football game. It was against West Brom. And I stood on the park end, and Gordon West was in the goal, and Joe Royle was playing, and Howard Kendall, and they were the people on the pitch, you know, and that was the first time, and we stood on the park end, and that was my first experience of a football match, you know, because we used to go to my nan's every Saturday, because I lived in Seaforth at the time, in the high rises there, or in the Masonette, should I say, sorry, and we used to go to my nan's every Saturday for, you know, where it was me mum's mum. And that's right by Goodison, and so I would be hanging around with the kids there, minding cars and stuff like Magic Arm Mister and all that type of thing. So I used to I got involved in that and did that, and then we'd go down the ground and then bunk in at half time, you know. And then eventually my dad he took me to a few games, and I just kind of snowballed from there. Really, it was. I never woke up and thought, I want to support Everton. I just wasn't.
It was just there.
It was just there. Like,
I think that's the way, isn't it?
Born,
really?
not manufactured, as they say. But and that was the story, sort of pretty much everywhere, really. Wasn't it? So, you know, I know you had that sort of bringing. You're
talking about like time and how it changes. You know, back in the 80s and before all that. That's how you become a football fan, wasn't it? By who took you. Now it's a little bit different because it's social media can make you go and support another club, can't they? But back in the day, it was your dad or your uncle who said, "Come on, let's go to the match."
Yeah, they was,
and just wherever you went, you probably were going to support, weren't you? Yeah. Because it's a great day out, isn't it? You know, you're going to your aunties or something before the game, and that's the start of a day out. And then you meet your mates, and then you go in and you cheer, or you come out and you're unhappy. You know what I mean? But what a great day! And growing up as a kid, having football in your life, and obviously and music as well.
I mean, you know, when you look through it, you sort of will have seen the 80s and the great team of the 80s, and you know
that's kind of my team in a way.
Yeah,
you know,
I was going to say, you know, it's
they give us our pride back. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're sort of similar age to me, Keith. So, you know, the 70s, we sort of were a little bit too late for the, you know, for the glory of the 70s in the very early 70s. But then, you know, it was a really tough period, wasn't it? You know, and you had to really have some character about you to support Everton during that, the later 70s, if you like. But then that 80s team, I know you were sort of influenced by them in many ways, weren't you, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, you going to school, you know, when you used to go to school, so I missed all the 70s, really. So my first team was the great team, really. But going to school with your programme, you know, you just mentioned to give you pride. You did feel as though we are the best team in the world, not just in England. We're the best team in the world. Because when teams are coming to your place to play, you think you're going to put 3 or 4 past them every week, didn't you?
Well, it was just like, you know, you'd think, at what point we're going to score, you know? It was very much that. But also, as well, you know, you'd kind of gone through about 14 odd years of winning nothing, you know, and sitting in the shadow of Liverpool to some extent. You know, where you're sitting there and you're going to school and they were winning everything at that point, and then all of a sudden we had a team that could not only kind of compete with them, but, you know, could turn them over on their day quite easily, you know, and that's that, you know, that kind of gives you your dignity back, you know.
You know what's interesting about talking about the 80s, you get up and you go to the game, and you almost know everyone who's going to play, don't you? Because there was no rotations. There was no rotations, was there? So you know who's playing right wing, who's playing left wing, who's up top.
Even past Harper and Richardson, you wouldn't be able to name them, would you?
No.
You know, after that. Absolutely. Alan Harper, Richardson, you know.
And Kevin Richardson as well.
Yeah, Kevin Richardson. Yeah. I mean, it was never Southall turn around and said we wouldn't won anything without them two.
Yeah,
because they could come in and play any position.
Yeah. Who's the Alan Harper?
And not upset the apple cart.
Who's the Alan Harper of the farm?
Oh Christ almighty.
I'm going to get you into trouble on that one, aren't I?
I don't think we've got an Alan Harper in the farm. No.
They're very hard to find. I mean, you've seen the problems at Liverpool at the moment with their, they're very hard to find someone who can keep the unity and not play.
Yeah, and just slot in.
Just slot in,
and do the job, and do the right job.
I remember Paul Power coming, in the 80s as well for that second 80s team. I mean, and he, people looked and thought, Paul Power, he was finished. Pretty much player of the season, that season. But who were your big players sort of in the late 70s and that sort of Gordon Lee, Billy Bingham, era?
I loved Duncan McKenzie.
Did you?
I loved him, because he was really flamboyant, and he was kind of he could jump over minis. I mean,
and throw a golf ball over the stand.
And throw a golf ball over the stand and then type of things. They were like superhero stuff, you know what I mean?
And Evertonians always relate to that type of guy, don't they? It's like, they always want a talisman, don't we? We've always had one. And
there was always that photograph in the programme, wasn't there, with someone sitting on a car or, it was...
I remember we were playing, it was a derby, we were going into a derby and they were talking, and I think it was in the Echo, and they were going about Duncan McKenzie's flamboyance and skill, and they were interviewing Tommy Smith, and he just scoffed at it as if to say, well, wait till we get on the pitch.
That's right.
I'll do him. And he chipped him in the middle of the park.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
and then he backed him, and he just flicked the ball over his head and said, it's one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen, because it was like, this is how crap I am.
Yeah, it did a double take to him, didn't it? Yeah, it was a double whammy.
It was hilarious.
No, I do remember that. I'd forgotten completely about that until you've just mentioned it.
That's mad, isn't
it? And it's great that you mentioned...
You'd have to watch yourself the rest of the game, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Tommy Smith, actually. When I was at Sky, they asked me to go and speak to Tommy, and he lived in Crosby somewhere, and Blundell Sands, was it? I think it might have been Blundell Sands. Anyway, so I went up to the house, and it was the day after Halloween, so I knocked on his door, and all his car had flour all over it, like obviously mischief night before, So I knocked on the door, and his wife come out, and I said, I'm here to Sky. Oh yeah. I said, listen, I just need to know about your car. I said, I want to tell you about your car. I said, it's got all flour. Oh, Tommy, she shouts, Tommy, come and see the car, And it was all chaos started, So Tommy comes out and he says, bloody Evertonians, and I said, no, I think it's Halloween. No, it's not. Do you know where I live? I said, let it go, Tom. You haven't played for 40 years. You know what I mean? But it was brilliant to see that rivalry was still alive. But you mentioned Duncan McKenzie, which leads me. I mean, it's as if we've scripted it, Keith. You've lead me into one of the topics we're going to talk about today is luxury players, and the reason. Okay. The reason we're talking about it is because of this book by Joe Cole, which he's called Luxury Player, because I think many people are certainly reading it. Many managers felt he was a luxury player by, from what I've read of it. Was Duncan McKenzie a luxury? Someone suggested to me online the other day that Duncan McKenzie was a luxury player. I mean, I suppose the definition is the big thing here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a luxury player can sometimes be that player that is exceptionally flamboyant and talented, but probably doesn't track back, and that's probably what they normally mean.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was. No, I think he brought something to us that we didn't have at that particular time, and in a time when we could, look pretty. Things could look pretty grim, especially the Gordon Lee years and stuff like that. He kind of offered you something else,
magic,
just a bit of magic that you could feel great about.
Hence
that
the
you
song.
Can see on the pitch. You know what I mean?
Duncan McKenzie is magic, wasn't it? That was the thing. I can see the sign now.
We all agree.
Funny enough, I always remember him saying to me in an interview once, Duncan, that he went up to see the directors and said that Gordon Lee was going to take you off the coupon if you didn't change him. Which when you look at today's things with Salah and everything, Duncan going to the directors and you think to yourself, is that right, really? But who are the other? Who are the flair players, Who are those luxury players?
In that era,
In any era.
Well, in that era, I never seen Andy King.
Right, okay.
Now, would he be classed as a? Or
Well,
not?
I wouldn't class him as a, because I
Wouldn't
think
you?
Andy he was everywhere. He was
Yeah.
more
He was
like,
everywhere. More like a Dewsbury Hall, isn't he?
yeah, he
Was
was
he?
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. That's a really good comparison.
More
Yeah,
like him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was kind of everywhere, made things work, made things tick.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And he would track back.
He
by
would
the
track
way.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
And he could put a ball in, you know,
Yeah.
what I mean, as well. And
Yeah.
I know he was a fantastic. He's
Yeah.
revered by all Evertonians, but I never seen him play.
No, I think he was flamboyant. I think that's a word
Yeah.
I'd definitely use because I mean, he was flamboyant on and off the pitch, wasn't he? You know, he was the sort of Frank Worthington style, sort of popular character as such. But I think, like I heard someone mention Kevin Sheedy as a luxury player, and again,
I think for me, Al, I think one of the you just mentioned it then, Keith, about like what's the definition, and I think for me one of the ones would be, do you know, if you're playing away from home, as a manager then, and you're going to go to a tough place. Do you take them out because you're worried?
I was just thinking,
do you know
that,
what I
yeah.
mean? Do you
Someone
take
that
them
you can
out?
do without.
But you wouldn't take Sheeds out
No, you
away
wouldn't.
from away place, would you?
No.
So I wouldn't class Sheeds as a luxury player because he'd play.
Yeah.
Because even if you were under the cosh,
he could just spread the ball anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd sit there, put his foot on it, and bang, it would be a 40, 50-yard pass to the feet.
Yeah.
I think the
You know
most
what I mean?
current one who Everton have had would be Rodriguez, who we had.
Yeah.
As you could class him as a luxury player, but he's fantastic with the ball. He scored a number of goals in his first season in the Prem, although it was no fans, and that was what people would say typical Everton.
Yeah.
You got a fantastic player and no one can watch him, and then he went.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That when you look and when listening to Joe Cole in the book there, it's managers who say, I can take him off, and that's a big thing, isn't it? And I guess from a luxury player's point of view, it must be quite frustrating.
I'd say in a way, not like I never played like Joe Cole and that, but in a way, under Joe, I could be classed as a bit of a luxury because I was very skinny.
Under that definition.
I was very skinny, and lots of times I was sort of the guy behind the Dogs of War.
Yeah.
And lots of times the game would be going on and we couldn't handle the ball. It was getting given away. And Joe would say to me, go on and make us pass it. And that was how simple it was.
Yeah.
So, it's sometimes it's your makeup, isn't it? How you look as well. Chris Waddle, is he a luxury player?
That's a great shout.
Do you know what I mean?
Limper.
Yeah.
Anders, So I remember doing team shape. And Anders, obviously with the ball, is fantastic.
Unbelievable,
And as you say, you want them to play.
Yeah.
And I remember Joe saying to Anders, stopping a session, well, not stopping it, but coaching in a session, just get back into position.
Right.
I don't want you to tackle.
Yeah.
Don't want you to tackle. Just get back. When they've got the ball here, you be here.
Yeah.
And it was that
simple.
instruction and that simple,
Yeah, that's simple.
Just to keep him in the team.
Yeah.
Because you don't want him out the team.
Yeah.
Listening to the names that you've mentioned, though, they're also, I see them as also game changers.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's the thing. So is it maybe, when you think about how you've talked the definition, is it maybe that when those game changers aren't changing a game and then they become luxury players? I don't know, maybe that could be
I think
it.
Liverpool right now have just, in the last 3 weeks, turned Mo Salah into a luxury player.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind he scored 40-odd goals every season, you know what I mean? But in the last 3 weeks, he has been the scapegoat.
Yeah.
He has been dropped. And actually, I think he might even be one behind the leading goal scorer for this season. And he's still being dropped.
What do you make of that? Because we do talk about current situations, Keith. What do you make about those comments? And, is it right that a player comes out and says those sort of things to the media, do you think?
I kind of watched a bit of that. I normally try not to get too much involved in Liverpool things, you know what I mean? For
it's always a good
reasons,
policy,
because you'll get slaughtered online, but it's coming from a player who normally doesn't speak to the press. And that's kind of what, as for me, I mean, Mo Salah actually coming out and saying something. Is normally very complimentary about everything. He's not a controversial player. He doesn't cause controversy in any way,
100%.
shape or form. It's not his MO. And he very rarely speaks to the press. He's quite a reserved player, but what a player for them. He's been consistent. He's been, the top goal scorer, many times, for the Premier League, and he's been an unbelievable player. So to come out and say some of the things he's saying it's just there's got to be something wrong somewhere, hasn't there? You
Yeah,
know what
I mean, bearing in mind what you've just said, and it's a really good point. Does that suggest then maybe that it was not so much a planned thing, but there's another reason for it, for coming out and saying that maybe he wants out or he's not happy.
Maybe it's just like, I've had enough.
I think he's destined to go to Saudi.
Yeah.
That's what I think he's destined to go. When he's going to go, who knew? I think he was destined to go. I think he signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
At the end of that, I think he'll go earlier now. He has been the best player for Liverpool in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Statistically, he has been. We mentioned it a few weeks ago when Liverpool dropped him against West Ham, and it worked for Liverpool. But the big question was, they're playing Sunderland, is what are you going to do with Salah now? Because he's not just a normal player.
No,
he's not a Gakpo. He's not. He's on. He's on a different level and all that.
Yeah.
So
big decision.
A big decision, and I think they've got it wrong.
Yeah.
I think they should have persevered with the greatest player they've ever had until whenever.
Yeah.
Unless you were dropping it for someone who's going to blow everyone away. You have to bring in a younger person like a Salah who's actually going to blow you away. But
you've got to win those games, haven't you?
But convincingly,
you've got to win those games, and I think.
Yeah, and I think he's come out because I think he's hurt. I think he's obviously not being treated with respect, or he feels that way.
Yeah.
And now it's just they're in a bit of a problem, aren't they?
But
a bit of trouble now.
We're talking about the phrase altogether now. I mean, it's not.
It's
not all together, is it?
No,
it's not. It's not.
And that's a worry for the manager, I guess. Whereas let's talk about a team who are all together, it seems, and that's Everton. And I mean, the performance on Saturday was a great performance. And we're in the lofty position of 6th now. I mean, could you see that at the start of the season, Keith?
I could see it being mid-table somewhere is kind of what I thought, because it is about progression slowly, isn't it? And what we don't have, and we haven't had for many, many years, is the depth in squads. It only takes a few injuries, and the African Nations Cup thing, that goes on in January, only kind of takes a few of them type of things, and a lot of your main players are out. You know what I mean? And so I was kind of thinking build. And if we can get up the table, great. So. Being where we are right now is fantastic. When you got to place this in context of the last 5 years, of the different relegation battles that we've had and the problems and the issues, the team seem really kind of forged. They seem consistent, and I think we can get consistency. But we've got some great players there at the moment. Are playing well, and Dye's just unbelievable. He's a fantastic player. And he's probably one of the best dribblers in the Premier League at the moment. I think. And I mean, at the moment, you watch him teams put three people on him, and he can beat them all.
He does.
He gets out of the situation. You think, how the hell's he done that?
It's like the ball's on elastic, isn't it? With him, yeah. I mean, I'll ask both of you this question. What do you think it needs now to consolidate where we are and to try and keep the momentum we've got, but also to take it forward again? I mean,
I think Everton. The transition on how we have played in the last few years compared to how we are playing now
you've
is evidence. We've consistently mentioned it. We have got players who can handle the ball now and want the ball. So you mentioned Ndiaye, Jack. I've not seen Jack give the ball away. Since he's come, and the problem Jack's having, because he's so good, he gets doubled up as soon as he gets the ball. So every manager's saying, as soon as Jack gets the ball, you get back and help your full back.
Yeah.
And because he's an intelligent player, he doesn't want to give the ball away.
No.
So and lots of times he makes the right pass.
Yeah.
So indirectly, I bet you Jack's been involved in a lot of goals. Indirect, apart from the ones he's assisted.
Yes.
But indirectly as well, Ndiaye's fantastic. And obviously, I done a tweet start of the season.
Yeah.
And I said, Kieran Dewsbury Hall had all that talent at Leicester.
Yeah.
And he got sold to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Going down south isn't for everyone. Didn't get really much game time, and I did say start of the season I think he needs to find a home, and I think he's found his home.
Definitely.
I really believe certain players need a home where they can flourish. And what we're watching every week off him now, and I think I prefer him as a centre mid.
I do, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where he was playing a little bit more advanced, but I prefer him as a centre mid because he's got that much energy. He gets forward anyway.
Once he starts moving forward, that ball, you don't know where the ball's going or the opponent.
No, he's a good player, isn't he?
He's dangerous.
He's dangerous. I think going forward, I think Everton are consolidating. I do think they can finish. Start of the season, I was thinking, I look at some of the teams, like your Palaces and your Brightons. I'm thinking, I think we're better than them. If we have a good, I do think if the players we've got now, I think we can be better than them.
Yeah.
But to go to the next level, I think we need pace.
Yeah.
And I remember in 90, would have been around 94, 95, I remember Peter Johnson sitting on the bus with me coming back from a game. I forget the game, but the coach was half empty because a lot of the lads stayed down in London. It was a game down south, and I'm a young lad and sitting on a table of 4 on my own because there was hardly anyone on the bus. And he got on the toilet, he come back, he sat next to me, and he said, "What do you think we need for next year?" And I said,
"No pressure."
I'm a young lad. I'm only 19, 20, and I've gone, we need, because the way I played, I'd love to get my head up and put the ball over to a runner.
Of course, yeah.
I said we need pace because we were quite slow.
Yeah.
And then I never gave any names because I didn't have any names as a young lad. And a year later, he bought Andre.
Right.
And then he became.
He was amazing.
He was electric, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Electric. And I think this team now, whether that's with a full back position, or whether that's with a striker, or whether that's with another midfielder who's got loads of energy and strength, whatever that is,
pace.
You frighten teams with pace.
Are you taking the credit for Andrei Kanchelskis then, or?
No, I think you are, yeah. No. I definitely think you are, yeah.
Well, it was a good shout, to be fair.
Well, I never said his name.
No, that's very true. But we all knew you meant. No, but you're right though. Pace is a massive, and I think you're right in whatever position. I would suggest maybe a striker with pace would because when you look at the creators we've got. It's shouting out, isn't it, for someone? What do you think is needed in January, Keith?
I definitely think in January it's difficult. The January window is kind of. I mean, you never used to have these windows when I was really young and that. But
it was all finished in March, wasn't it?
But it's difficult in it because no one wants to sell, and if you are selling, they're selling for a lot of money, so you might not be able to get the players that you want. Yeah. But I think if what Everton kind of needs is exactly that. It is pace, but also right back. We need the right back. We need we need more cover there, and we definitely need something where another threat. And if that it is a forward with pace, I don't think. I mean, Barry. I think Barry's really been working hard. I don't think he's done too badly. I just think he needs confidence. If you think about the amount of shots he's actually had, he's not really missed much. He just hasn't had the opportunities, But when he got the opportunity the other day, he certainly buried it. You know what I mean?
Young Ends done great for that, didn't he?
Yeah. But I thought Ends was brilliant for him when he kind of run forward. But I thought the way Barry cut across him, he went one way and then cut across, and he completely bamboozled the defence between them. And then he just buried it, you know what I mean? It was a difficult shot to take from that position he was in. But, that was great. So I think but I definitely do think, I think you're right, pace is.
But when you look at, as I say, those players, the Grealishes, the Dewsbury Halls, the Ndiays, when you look at the likes of Jamie Vardy, and I'm not suggesting Jamie Vardy, but that sort of player who can run into certain positions, we haven't got that at the moment. No. We've got big strikers who sort of stand with the back to the goal really and want the ball. Whereas with one of them, is that a game changer? Somebody like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think
easier said than done.
It is easier said than done because I think getting a forward is quite tough.
The hardest position.
Notts Forest come to us on Saturday, and if you're really going to be honest, it didn't look like they had a forward.
No,
because our two centre halves looked like they never broke sweat.
Yeah.
And then I watched us against Bournemouth, who went to Anfield and really should have got something really, and it looked like they never had a forward. So I think forwards are very hard to get.
Yeah.
But you've always got to be searching for one.
Yeah.
But I do think pace. I remember West Ham came to us a few weeks ago, and the left back second half looked like he was the fastest player ever, and he became an outlet for them.
Yeah.
And when you haven't got that explosive pace, so if it was a fullback and you've got someone like Jack Grealish, once they've gone and you roll them in with the quality you've got, the weight of pass you've got, you're actually in.
Yeah.
You're behind it. So
you're behind them.
You're behind them then. Whereas if you've only got decent pace, the opposition will catch it up, and it becomes a tackle then.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah,
it's a fine line. Do you know what I mean? It is a fine line. And I think in the important areas, the best teams have the tools to hurt the opposition in the important areas.
Well, listen, that book we talked about, The Luxury Player, you can win this on the Added Time podcast. It's a good read, actually. So if you want to do that, all you have to do is subscribe and like on YouTube, and you'll be in the draw. And maybe a good time, we're talking about Everton, to mention our main competition, our Christmas competition, which you can win a couple of tickets to the Hill Dickinson Stadium to watch Everton against Wolves on January the 7th with myself and Tony. Tony will talk the tactics for you. I will go and get the teas and the drinks at half time. But again, just subscribe. It's free to subscribe. Just subscribe to the Added Time podcast and you're in the draw for that. It's a great prize. And we'll be back in a few moments for all the predictions. And Keith's going to give us his as well.
Okay.
See you in a moment. Hi, Alan Myers here from the Added Time podcast to tell you about a great competition we've got for you just in time for Christmas. You and a friend have the chance to be at the Hill Dickinson Stadium to watch Everton against Wolverhampton Wanderers on January the 7th in the company of myself and my co-host, former Everton midfielder Tony Grant. He'll talk the tactics. I'll just go and get the drinks and the food at half time. If you want to be in the draw, it's very simple. Just like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, the Added Time podcast, and you're in the hat. We'll pick a winner around the 22nd of December. Good luck, and we'll see you soon. Well, welcome back to the Added Time podcast. We're here with our special guest, Keith Mullin. And Keith, we've come to the part of the programme where we do predictions.
Yeah.
And
we're not very good.
We're not very good. Well, we're certainly not. Claire, who's one of our producers, she's brilliant, and she's in the lead.
All the time,
she's in the lead at the moment.
Really?
So much so she's putting a quid on next week. So she's leading by 16 points. I'm sure she'll tell us when she comes in a little bit later. Tony's on 14, I'm on 10, so I'm having a bit of a nightmare. But anyone who follows my ACCAs will know that's nothing unusual. So we're looking at the week ahead, and we'll start with your team, or our team, Everton. They're away at Chelsea, and we've just been talking about the good run Everton have been on. It's a difficult game, isn't it, Chelsea away? I remember a couple of years ago, was it a couple of years ago now, and it was sort of 5-0 at half time or whatever it was, 4-0 at half time. So it can be a tricky place. What are you thinking on that one?
It is a tough game, really, and I think if there's ever a time to play them, it's now. They're kind of not, they're liable to a bit of a slip up. But you've also got to think that we're in since Moisey's been here, our away form has been excellent. Yeah. We're probably one of the better away forms that we've had for many a year, and I'd kind of like to think that we could get a result there. So I'm going for it. It's either going to be a 0-0 or a 2-1. I'm going for the 2-1 for Everton. 2-1 for Everton.
Yeah. A bit of brave there, Toe.
Yeah, well, no.
To start with,
I echo a lot of the words Keith just said. I think if Everton can go to Chelsea, and I know it's a better outfit on paper, but adopt the same way they played at Bournemouth last week.
Yeah.
Quite aggressive. I think defensively we're quite good, aren't we? Defensively, full of confidence. But I think, Chelsea, I'll give Chelsea a little bit of credit, and I'll go with a 1-1 draw. And I'll be happy with a draw as well.
Well, I was of that mind when I first thought about it, and then I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? Chelsea are a little bit inconsistent at the moment. They're having a little bit of a wobble, and I think now is the time. December's a really big time for pressure, I think, because there's so many games on the back of each other. So I'm actually going for a 1-0 win for Everton. I think it'll be quite a tight game, and I think, as I say, Everton might just sneak a 1-0. So that's our ones for it. We'll get Calairs a little bit later. Now on to a very interesting game, Liverpool against Brighton.
Okay.
We'll start with you, Keith.
Thanks for that. It's again, you're not. Normally you'd think, well, Liverpool are going to win that, but at the moment, you never really know. And Brighton, I've got some serious tools there, to hit them, So I'm thinking that's either going to be the moment where Liverpool come back and they're going to smash them 3-0, or it's another 1-0 for the away team. So I'm going to go 1-0 for Brighton.
1-0 for Brighton.
Yeah, it's a tricky game, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there's so much turmoil at Liverpool now.
There is, yeah.
I'm not sure. I said a few weeks ago.
Does that play in the minds of the players, Toe? You know, someone who's played at the top level.
I'll tell you what it does do, and I mentioned it a few weeks ago. It's the uncertainty of how they're playing. I'm not sure when I watch Liverpool they actually know what they're doing. So if there's that uncertainty again, and then obviously the Salah incident, it's going to have some repercussions. It really is, because do you play him or don't you play him? You know, and then there's a lot of pressure on Salah now, unjust pressure really. He doesn't deserve to have that pressure on him. You know.
See, the manager has a decision, because if you put him in, it could make the manager look weak. Because
either way, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
And also, as I just said, then he put him in. He's got all this pressure on him, and he doesn't deserve to have that pressure on him. So he's got to go and score 3 goals to well, he shouldn't have dropped me. Well, you know, he shouldn't have that. But anyway, I'm going to think it's going to be a tough day for Liverpool again because of the uncertainty. But I'm not sure I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
You go another 1-1?
Okay.
1-1. Well, I'm actually going for a Liverpool win, because I think at times like this, you know, you talk about fight or flight, don't you? You know, and I think you mentioned it, and you see, you know, and maybe there's a scenario where Salah actually does start and scores a couple of goals to say, that's what I'm talking about, you know. So that's where I'm not suggesting, I'm not going as far as saying Salah's going to start, but I can see Liverpool getting a 2-0 win.
And he shouldn't have to show. There you go. That's why, should he?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It should never be that case.
But I'm going for a 2-0 win with Liverpool. And then one of your old teams, Toe, we'll start with you on this one.
Okay.
Burnley against Fulham. Fulham, as we've spoken about before, they're a strange side, aren't they? They'll go and beat Tottenham and then, you know, get beat the other day, you know.
And I've backed Burnley the last couple of weeks, Keith. And funny enough, Leeds have given the performances I thought Burnley were going to give last couple of weeks. But I'm going to go third time lucky. I think Burnley, I'm going to say set pieces are going to win it for Burnley. Right? And I'm going to say they're going to win 3-1.
Okay. Love it. Keith, what are you going for there?
You know, I watched Fulham yesterday, and obviously I watched them when we played them the other week, you know. But I think that they play some great football at times. You know, they got some fantastic players, but they're really susceptible at the back. You know what I mean? And
we saw that, didn't we, at Hill Dickinson? Yeah. Right.
And I'm kind of thinking, you know, what Tony's saying there for set pieces, you know, and that's Burnley's, you know, are pretty good at that. So I'm going for a Burnley win there. You know, 1-0.
Well, I'm going to go for a draw, because I've never been convinced with Burnley. You know, there's just something about them. I hear what you're saying, and you do expect them to do that. You do expect them to have, especially at Turf Moor, you expect them to have those, and they are fighting. There's no two ways about it. I just don't think the quality's there, to be honest. And so I can see Fulham maybe it'd be a bit of a bore 0-0 for me. Okay. So I'm going 0-0, and then what could be? You said last week City to win 6-1 against Wolves. Against Sunderland.
Let's say what the midweek game, they scored 5.
They did. And at one point when it got to 3-0, I'm thinking, Tony, I might be eating humble pie here, because I didn't take it well, to be honest, Keith. You know, when Tony said 6-1. You know, but Arsenal against Wolves. I mean, this could be one that might be. We'll start with you, Keith.
Yeah, Arsenal have had a bit of a slip up, haven't they? You know what I mean? And you know, Wolves are, you know, a little bit. You never know what you're going to get. No. You know, and they're more than capable of winning a game, but they're more than capable of throwing a game as well. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for Arsenal. Come on, you know, getting back on their mojo, if you like, in that game, and win 2-0.
2. Okay.
Okay. Wolves have got 2 points this year, haven't they?
They've not won yet. Yeah.
Then they're going to Arsenal. I'm not sure. Every time I watch Wolves, I don't know what they do.
And they've got Man United,
have they?
As we're recording, you know, sort of.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm going to go with an Arsenal 6-0 win.
That's ambitious.
I love it. So, yeah. One of these days. But I think it's more realistic this week. You know, I could see Sunderland putting up a fight, even though
But last week wasn't realistic. When they were 2-0 up after about 20 minutes last week, weren't they?
Yeah, I must admit it.
You were thinking about it.
I did think about it, but I can see I can't see anything but an Arsenal win here. Because Wolverhampton Wanderers are down where they are for a reason. They haven't won a game. And I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. So I'm going 3-0 to Arsenal on that one.
Yeah.
And then we move on to Sunday. Keith, Crystal Palace against Manchester City. Palace on the back of that win that you watched against Fulham yesterday.
They played really well, Palace, yesterday. I mean, they're a strong team.
Don't forget, both teams have got international. Both teams have got European games this week. So is that a factor? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, how do you see that one?
I think, with the European games going on the week, I think City could probably weather that a little bit better because of the depth of squad there. They can bring a couple of 100 million off the bench, do you know what I mean? And they'd still have a better side than everyone else. I do think Palace are quite coherent and quite strong, and on their day can give anyone a really good game.
Especially at Selhurst Park.
So I'm going for like a 2-2 there, draw.
2-2 draw, love it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I echo all the words again. I think Palace are a decent outfit.
Yeah.
City went into London last week and scored 5 goals away from home.
Yeah.
So maybe they like playing in London. So I'm going to go with a City win.
Yeah.
A Haaland hat-trick. Extra points if he gets one. Yeah. And 3-1 City.
Okay. Well, I'm of similar mind to you. City are 2 points off the top now.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are talking about them in the same way as they're talking about Chelsea, the same way they're talking about Aston Villa now, the same way they're talking about Arsenal. So getting on with business, City. So I can see a 2-1 win. I think it'll be tight, but I think it'll be a 2-1 win for City. Nottingham Forest against Tottenham Hotspur. Now, there's two teams that you can. You don't know what you're going to get. This is it, isn't it, Keith? I think.
I mean, Forest were, I when they played us the other day, I thought the battles were won and lost in midfield. You know what I mean? It was a real at times, and the same thing was a really kind of they were fighting in that midfield there. You know what I mean? And we were edging it. I think that's why we won. And Tottenham were more than capable of doing kind of similar, but. They're both capable of cancelling each other out, but I'm kind of going for a draw on that one,
Yeah.
But again, maybe not. Maybe I think Tottenham can edge it, maybe. Yeah, I'm 2-0 for Tottenham.
2-0 for Tottenham.
Yeah.
That changed quite drastically, didn't it?
That changed my mind.
No, that's fair enough,
That's kind of what I'm like.
You do start to think, don't you? And then you think about maybe the last time you saw Spurs.
That must be like, you're writing a song and you want some music and he goes, well, let's just put this
here.
Let's put this here.
This is the chorus.
Yeah. Oh dear, I'm glad we didn't ask Peter to do this, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So, Toe, what are you going for? So we've got a 2-0 win for Spurs off, Keith.
Yeah, I think what you said then, two teams, you don't really know what you're going to get. Yeah. I think Forest got well beat by us, really, really well beat. I think they'll have more of a fight in them.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of eruptions at Tottenham. I don't know from a few little clips you've seen.
Yeah, there are.
I think in a full house at the City ground there on a Sunday afternoon, can see Forest home 2-0.
I'm with you, and I think one of the things, and it's evident in this game and the next game we're going to look at, but Forest, the ground is almost a bit of an extra man, isn't it? We talk about the 12th man, and it really is for them. So I can see.
It's really noisy ground.
Oh, it's a noisy
ground,
and Tottenham are not great under pressure this season for whatever reason. So I'm going for a 1-0 win. I think it'll be tight because I don't think the quality's there as such. So I think Forest win that 1-0. But the next one, which really is an exciting game, Sunderland against Newcastle.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith, these are the games. I mean, we've waited a long time for them, but these are great games, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It's a kind of a local derby in a context, and they really hate each other.
Yeah.
Which you can't understand, but.
But you can think about Jordan Pickford, can't you? And his rivalry. I remember Don Hutchison playing for Sunderland, and he's a Newcastle fan. So,
but Sunderland at home have been playing great, at times this season, and what Newcastle as well. They've got a lot going on. Newcastle, they've been, they can really, they've got a lot of quality in that team. But if now, I'm just thinking Sunderland are gonna grab that on the day, and I'm thinking it's going to be like a 3-2 or something.
3-2.
I think there's going to be a lot of goals in it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean? Yeah, I'll take that.
Well, I think there might be more bookings and sendings off in this game than goals.
Yeah, because they've got the players.
I watched Sunderland against Everton, and I thought they were the most aggressive team,
Yeah.
maybe over the top at times.
Yeah.
Which is why since that game, I've actually done them to get beat every game.
Yeah.
Thinking, and to be fair to them, you know, they've had some good results since Everton. They drew at Arsenal and they drew at Liverpool, didn't they? But I think they're very, very aggressive. And I think Newcastle, on their day, they're aggressive. Their midfield three were Bruno and Big Joe Linton. And so if they're all playing, you know, they won't shake. You know what I mean? They'll get stuck in. So I think there's going to be an awful lot for the referee to do on Saturday. But I think Newcastle's quality will shine. And I think Newcastle will run out 2-0 victors.
Okay. Well, I'm going for Sunderland on this, and but purely for the atmosphere. I just think this game will be all about the atmosphere. And I think the way Sunderland are at the moment, the fact that they're up the top of the league, you know, and I just think it will be a lot. And I think Newcastle just worry me a little bit. Walter Maida's done well, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they're free scoring as such, you know, and bearing in mind what happened when they played Everton, I get that. But, you know, so I think Sunderland could nick that. I think it'll be quite tight, and I think it'll be a 1-0 victory for Sunderland, but I think the crowd will make the difference. West Ham, Aston Villa, I mean, again, you know, Nuno's under a bit of pressure, isn't he, there? He's trying his best, and he's changed something, that's for sure. But Villa are the form team, aren't they?
Villa are flying, you know, when on paper they should win it. I've got a lot of West Ham mates as well, you know what I mean? They'll probably hate me for kind of saying that I get it, but on paper Villa should win it, you know, really. And I'm kind of, but again, it's away at West Ham, and they've got the players to hate you, you know what I mean? And they can do, but I just think Villa are flying at the moment, and they're probably going to, you know, I think they'll edge that one, you know. I think it'll be like a 2-0 or something.
2-0, okay. I'll definitely tag in the West Ham, you know, website to make sure your mates see what you said there.
That,
you know?
Well, they'll definitely see this. Yeah, they won't be happy.
So what are you going for that?
Yeah, I think it'll be a tight game. Villa have done, for me, so far, if I could give a trophy out to a manager right now, I'd give it to their manager. I think he's done great, because they started the season with a lot of negativity around them. They
hadn't scored a goal for 4 games, did they? You know,
and plus, off the field, I don't think it was great for them. So he's done tremendous. And West Ham are fighting.
Yeah.
I think West Ham are going to nick it.
Okay.
2-1.
Right, interesting. I can't say, I'm like Keith, I can't see anything but a Villa win. I'm going for 2-0 for Villa, same as you, Keith. You know, I just can't see. I can't see West Ham being strong enough to beat Villa. I mean, you know, I think they still struggle for goals, you know, and that's their problem. And then the final one on the Sunday, because we don't do the Monday game for obvious reasons, because we film on a Monday. But Brentford versus Leeds. This is a tough one, isn't it, to predict this, really?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you'll find out at the end of all the results, they'll all be tough to predict.
Yes.
It won't just be this
certainly
one.
My ones, yeah. So what are you going for there, Keith? You know, Leeds picked up a little bit, as Tony suggested earlier.
Yeah, they got a bit of fight in them when we played them at the beginning of the season, and they were great, you know what I mean? They were right in your face and everything, you know, so...
Does the fact that it's at Brentford make a difference?
I think so, yeah, Brentford. You know, I mean, again, it's another kind of ground which can be quite loud, and once the crowd get behind the team, you know what I mean, it's going to pick them up. So I'm thinking that's got a draw all over it, you know what I mean? I'm kind of thinking it's going to be either I'm going for like 0-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
0-0.
Well, I'm going to echo again, a draw. But I think goals, 2-2 for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go for, because Brentford are a strange team. On their day, they're great, and I think at Brentford that's where the strength is. So I'm going for a 2-1 win for Brentford on the day. So there are predictions for next week. Follow them. I mean, see whether I can make ground up on Tony and Claire. Probably not. And And Keith, will be very interesting to see your predictions and how you do, mate, because we'll have a little mini league of all our guests, you know.
Really?
So unfortunately we never got Peter's, so because we hadn't started it by then. But we'll we'll see whether we can get you on top of that league.
I'm sure he'll have something to say about them.
Yeah. So listen, going back to the farm, what are you up to at the moment? You've just brought a new, well, I say newish album out, haven't you?
Yeah, we had a new album out this year, which was out in May, which is called Let the Music. Something we've been working on for a while. We kind of started writing new music a few years ago, put some out via, we were just doing it ourselves the way we've always done them, and with no budget and no pluggers and no press agents, and kind of did all that type of thing. And then we got some favours off people that we know, who were pluggers and stuff, and the music started to do really well. We're getting like playlisted on Radio 2 and all kinds of stuff. So as a consequence of that, and when you're putting new music out like that, you kind of think, will anyone like it, We kind of wrote it from the point of view of as we like it, and we think it's all right. So no one likes it, not to loss, because we're not after chart positions, we're not after anything like that. It was just more about,
You're already multimillionaires.
Yeah, absolutely. We just thought we'd put out some new music, and basically, but the response to it has been fantastic.
Where does it sit with the stuff you've done previously down the years?
Well, as a consequence of the first couple of singles that we put out ourselves, we had like Modern Sky, who was a local record label here in Liverpool. Little record label here in Liverpool. Dave Picciolini runs that. They got in touch and said they would like to, did we have any more songs? We went, yeah, played them, and they said, great. When we did a deal with them, they kind of said we'd love to release the album, and we're looking at doing another album with them as well at some point, Brilliant. But they kind of come on and did that with. So we've had, in terms of critical acclaim, it's been positive. We've had a really fantastic feedback on it, and so it's a critically acclaimed album, I would say, and it's done really well. We had a great chart position with the album in the indie charts and stuff like that, which was kind of what we wanted. And a lot of people who we respect, I suppose, have said to us it's as good as Spartacus, if not better.
Wow.
And in terms of you getting, because sometimes I don't compare it against that type of thing, but other people do compare it that. So the feedback we've had is it's a fantastic album. So in that respect, it's quite happy, because we're quite free with the way we're writing at the moment, and it's more about us now, and we're enjoying doing it. And
I was going to say, at this time of your careers, this time of your lives, is it a different feel to the? Are you more relaxed in what you're doing, and so that means you get sort of a different style of music in a sense?
You're obviously writing about the things that you're influenced by now. You're still writing with the same approach in terms of the
but does wisdom come into it, if you know what I'm saying? Does
I think so. Yeah, I think every time you write a new album or do something like that, you have to find a new way of writing it. And I think that's kind of what we've done here. We found a way of writing that we're comfortable with right now, and we know that works. And also, kind of, it's not a case of having to write to a script that's preset by someone else. It's like, well, you're an indie kind of poppy band that writes in this genre, so you have to write like that. Well, we don't even say, we just write the way we write, and we write in the genre that we want to write, and we're comfortable with. So, and I think that comes across in the music, really. And so, and we're listening. It's influenced by the things that we're. Yes, some of the things that we grew up with and the things that we were passionate about and loved, but the stuff that we're listening to now and the things that inspire us now, and that's the approach we've taken, and it seems to be working. It's going down well, because we're getting offered loads of. We're still doing the same amount of gigs, if not more. I
was going to say, can people see you around? And,
we're touring next year with the Happy Mondays. We've got a big tour with them next year, and then we got a lot more other gigs kind of yet to be announced, which going to be happening throughout the summer and throughout next year, which is big festivals and stuff like that. So from our perspective, really, of being the age that we are, the fact that anyone wants to kind of pay you to still go on a stage is
a lot,
amazing, you know what I mean? For us, it's the best thing that you could ever have, and I've got to say it, we're extremely fortunate. Most bands to probably get to our age, they hate each other, whereas we still get on, over the football rivalry. But we don't really speak about football to each other, you know.
No, but you know, when you look around, I just noticed just recently, more in particular, you see so many of the older bands sort of still gigging, and they're the popular bands. Yeah. They're who people want to go to see. Well, you know, whether it's from sort of Cliff Richard, I was watching the other night. You know,
it's very timeless.
I don't know how old he is, but like they're still going. But there doesn't seem to be that sort of what we had in the 70s, 80s, 90s. There doesn't seem to be that, what I would call the present day stuff, you know.
I think a lot of the music I grew up listening to stays with you forever.
Yeah.
And some of the new stuff, you just can't relate to. So it's for the new fans, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if I put my radio on or my records on in the car, it's all from the 70s, the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but they are very timeless.
Yeah, but it's a strange time, isn't it? You know, I think we haven't got Top of the Pops, we haven't got, you know, and it's an odd time. Well, I couldn't tell you a song now.
How people consume music these days is completely different.
Completely different.
So the way you've discovered new music and new bands is a completely different way of going about it. You know, I mean, people are discovering new music through that. You know, that's basically it. You know, whereas, you know, the media that used to be there, that used to be almost like gatekeep music, isn't there anymore. You know, but even though it's coming via streaming platforms and via YouTube and via Spotify, via all these different outlets that the kids are using. I think the music's still there, and I think the things that people are still writing about interesting stuff. I just think it's very departmentalised now, and also there's a lot out there. You know, there's a hell of a lot out there. You know, and with the advent of AI as well, you've got the potential of AI artists, which is terrifying. Yeah. You know, it just lacks authenticity, doesn't it? You know, just in a lot of respect. But I mean, it's difficult to tell one from another. You know, sometimes, but it's just a strange time. But I suppose for a band like us, it's again, you just feel extremely fortunate, the fact that you've been able to do it all your life, and people still feel that they want to, you know, they're going to pay some money to come and see you, you know, and the fact that you can get on a stage at our age and still go out and perform and people enjoy it is, I'm just internally grateful for that, you know, to be honest with you.
Well, you can see the passion is still there. You can see the desire is still there. We saw it with Peter, didn't we?
And you know what I would like just to add? Just the FA Cup starts soon, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you never know. It might be another song.
The draw today.
It might be another song on the horizon, mightn't it? You never know.
It might be a re-release of Altogether now.
Whatever, yeah.
I'm sure Peter would be really happy about that.
Well, we'll have to do a new one.
We'll have to do a new one, But honestly, Keith, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and it was great to balance it up, you know, from the red of Peter to the blue of Keith, you know, from the farm. But we wish you all the very big, you know, best success with it and everything, with the new album and with the gigs as well. And
well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, it's been great.
You know what I mean? It's been lovely talking to you both, you know.
Well, there we are. Thanks very much for listening to this week's Added Time podcast. I'm sure you enjoyed Keith from the farm coming in and talking all things music and his love of Everton as well. Don't forget to subscribe and like and get involved with those two competitions. And we'll see you next time on the Added Time podcast.